Throughout the whole country, there has been this trend where groups or even individuals are finding ways to, I guess, go to their school board or their state or their city or whatever, and they're getting books banned. Now, we know in this room when you talk about book banning, it's probably leaning towards one political party versus the other. One is like, hey, I'm good with these books about LGBTQ or abortion or Black history, and the other side is like, these books are hurting our kids. So, right now, we want to talk a little bit about why are books being banned. We want to talk about the impact of those, and then what are we doing, or can we stop this book banning trend from going on?
Apparently, we cannot because it's already happened in Florida and in Texas. So at this point, we can't stop it. We're going to have to work really hard to stop it, to get it reversed. And we, especially minorities and people of specific groups, we're going to have to insist and encourage that our children read these books that they're not going to be able to read in school because they're banned. And my kids have always had a library. It started with Dr. Seuss and it goes up. And I always buy books that not only my kids like, because you want them to read things that are interesting to you, because reading is fundamental. And to get someone to read, you have to first start with what's interesting, and then they'll grow. And so, with this book ban, I talked to my daughter because of my grandkids. I'm like, your kids are a quarter Black, so they're gonna need to know, what I went through, what Grandma and Grandpa went through, what you went through as being in a biracial marriage at this time when Republicans are doing all this stuff to take away your right as a woman, but also our rights as Black people. They're trying to put us back to picking cotton for them. That's in turn what they're really trying to do is make us their slaves again. They're taking all of our rights away. And we have to because we know this book ban is happening, we're going to have to be the ones to give our grandkids and our kids that encouragement to read this book about, Harriet Tubman. Read these books about all the things Black people invented that they don't get credit for because they wasn't allowed to have a patent back then. That's what we're going to have to do.
And why do you ban books? You know what I'm saying? Like, well, what's the deal with that? I mean, that's censorship, right?
Yeah.
That's First Right Amendment, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you have books that are out that talk about, being a Nazi or the Ku Klux Klan. I can't think of it off the top of my head. The book that Hitler used to Hitler wrote.
Mein Kampf.
Mein Kampf, yeah. Mm-hmm. That book's not banned. You know what I'm saying? You can still get it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a purpose behind it, and it's really on teaching history, erasing history, and erasing things that can't be remembered, and one you can't be held accountable for. Because if there's no history and you ain't learned about it, then it ain't nothing to feel guilty about or do anything about it or change. So then now you start taking away things that you had to put up because people had certain advantages. So you can say now, well, we don't need affirmative action no more because, I mean, why?
Right.
Because no one was taught the history behind why you needed affirmative action. Voting rights, which is under attack right now. Hey, we don't have to, we can still gerrymander and we can still limit people from voting. Why? Mm-hmm. Because there's no history taught on the fact that or the corrupt things people did to make sure that they stayed in power.
Yep.
It's all a power thing. So that's the thing behind book banning.
And also, if I ban the books and nobody's reading them, I can continue to promote this fake news.
Exactly. It rolls right back into that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and the attack on the LGBTQ community and just like, we want to erase overall the movements and the things that they've done, so we can still discriminate against them. You know, and we don't have to do any. We don't have to advocate or ally for them, and we can make sure that we make their life a living hell. So I mean, it's the and I, you know, not trying to make. I'm not gonna make it racist, but it's the elite class trying to hold on to power.
Yep.
And that elite class, believe it or not, comes in all shades and shapes and sizes. And the way they do that is they say, hey, let's attack education, let's attack history and make sure that people aren't learning anything, and let's make sure we ban these books and do this and yada, yada, yada. You got people and talking about, hey, you know, I don't want my kid feeling bad in class. Well, it's not his fault.
Right.
What happened, but he needs to learn where it came from. And unfortunately, he may come from that origin or that background. But it's what happened. Mm-hmm. You know, nobody told his great-great-granddad to go out there and massacre the Indians, but they did it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And he needs to know. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
So as a nation, we can move forward, and it's just nonsense on what's going on with this book, these book bannings, and you know, Abbott and DeSantis are leading the charge on that. That's crazy.
The first thing that kind of pops into my head is when you said, you know, like, I don't want my kid to feel bad. First of all, your kid wasn't alive in 1619.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
So your kid had nothing to do with what happened then, right? Second, we all want to protect our kids. We all want our kids, but like, our kids have been persecuted and treated differently and whatever you want to call it for years. But for a simple thing such as like banning a book because it might, not even it did, your kid ain't even read that book. Okay, yet. Mm-hmm. But it might hurt my kid's feelings. Well, I mean, my kid might get hit by a car. So does that mean I go out there and ban cars? Okay. No, I'm not going to ban cars because something might happen to my kid. That's like disingenuous, and it's like disrespectful to go down that path. But my whole thing is they're trying to erase history, and history is factual. And when you have a lack of facts, it increases your capability to say whatever you want, to your point about misinformation and fake news. If you eliminate the counterpoints to your fake news becomes real news.
Yeah. That's called propaganda.
Yep.
And Hitler was beautiful at propaganda. That's how he took over Nazi Germany in the 40s. Yep. It's called propaganda. I'm going to control the narrative. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, we have to be. It's important, and we need to understand the importance of it. The bad part about DeSantis and what he did in Florida when he went to the book banning and attacking Black history, those are AP classes. Mm-hmm. It's not. He was
not like everybody takes those classes,
right?
Those are classes that, you know, the smart kids, if they wanted to take it, they had an option to do. It was an optional class. So it wasn't like they were teaching in the curriculum and he took it out. He just took away something that if somebody volunteered and wanted to learn about it, they wanted to learn about it. Mm-hmm. And that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it's a war. It's propaganda. Mm-hmm. If you see how it's leaning. You know, you got things going on in this country right now that's going to shift toward here's the truth and here's what reality is. Because politically, we're going to eliminate all aspects of what's true or whatever the case may be. And we're going to tell you now what is what, and this is how it is. And we're going to change the rules on how everything is, and that's where this country is leaning. And the first fight is the propaganda war. We're going to take away these books. We're going to start telling our narrative, and then we'll just start, you know, next thing you know, they're going to have one media channel that tells us everything that's going on. And, you know, and guess what, guys? We're back in Nazi Germany. You know what I'm saying? That's where we're at.
Wow. So you talk about, like, at the beginning of the conversation, you said, you know, hey, we can't stop book bannings, but we can do things like make sure our kids read these books and they understand, you know, how important they are and that their history is important, right? There's got to be something that we can do. And the first thing that comes to my mind is, like, voting.
Yep.
Like, voting these people out of office.
Right. But first, to vote, you have to understand the propositions that are put forth that you have to vote on.
That's a whole nother issue. Like, I hate the way. I'm gonna go there for a minute. I'm gonna turn. turn this a little bit into the whole voting conversation. I hate the way that our voting system works as far as understanding what's on the ballot and understanding when to vote. It's hidden.
Yes.
It goes all back to like they don't want you to vote. The less amount of people who vote, the better off they are, and they don't want you to know what's on the ticket. They don't want you to know when to vote. They don't want you to know where to go vote. Most people don't know where to look up these things and get a lot of this information.
Right.
Like we had to watch like 8 YouTube videos one time to understand what all was on the ballot for one of the elections that we were going to.
Yeah.
It wasn't even publicly like available that I could find. And I'm on the internet searching for stuff all the time. So that's a problem with it
And
itself.
the verbiage of what
Yes.
you're
What does
voting
that mean?
for. Yeah. The way that last thing we
Do you
just
yes
voted
or
for?
no to Prop 48? Prop 48 does this, and are you
Yes.
yes or no? I don't know.
But there's so many
I
things.
can't figure it out.
There's so many things buried in that proposition that, like families who have LGBTQ members in their family, they voted against instead of for because of the way it was worded. They didn't understand the wording. They didn't understand, and then they bog it down and they'll group things together like making shoplifting no longer a felony. People were up in arms about that.
Yeah.
But there was the women's rights was on there, the LGBTQ stuff was on there, but they only saw that one thing, and because of that one thing, they voted against it. Where they just screwed
I also
everybody
think like
else.
the funny thing is, and I'm gonna try to get us back to the book banning is, I think that, and I know this was explained to me before, but I still don't like it. Like we get to vote for certain things, like propositions. We get to vote for this. We get to vote for bonds, and stuff like that. But some things, DeSantis could just go in there and say, I'm doing an order and we're banning these 400 books. Right? There was no vote. Nobody gets in there and says, hey, do we get a chance to vote on whether or not we want these books banned, bro? Because it's because you want to do it. Doesn't mean that we want you to.
Yeah. But
So I think voting
him in.
is... right, he's supposed to be our representative, but some things we, like I said, he can't do, or Abbott can't do. Let's put it back to Texas, because we have propositions and stuff like that. I don't know how Florida runs their system.
Pretty same.
But okay, so we have those things, bonds and all that stuff that we vote on those. Like, but some things Abbott could just say, I want to do this, and he does it. And that's where I think like our political system has some issues in itself. And I think that we can, if we have the capability to vote for like, okay, this dude did some stuff I didn't like. And like maybe 6 months later, we get another vote, right? Like get this guy out of here.
Yeah.
Right. The terms are too long. People could be
In office
governor
for too long.
forever.
Yes.
Stuff, man. It's just too much. So it's like you said, even though voting is the only way I could think of to stop this book banning, like vote somebody in there who's going to do right. They can say whatever the hell they want to when they run it, and they get in the office and do something totally different. So.
Or people go against it and keep going against it, keep fighting the grain. So if teachers teach off of these books, they gonna fire them? Are they gonna get fired? We already got a teacher shortage for a whole nother reason. So you gonna fire these people? And that's the mentality you got to think about. Now look at poor little Florida. They screaming because DeSantis ran off all his immigrant workers, right? So our fruit and vegetables are gonna go up because of his dumbass idea.
So that goes back to what is on your agenda, what's your priority.
Right.
He cares more about the book ban than he does about the teacher shortage.
Yep.
So guess what? He'll get rid of a teacher. He'll let a teacher get sued and get fired before he's saying, you know what, we need this teacher because we don't have enough. He'll let like the fruit go rotten.
That's exactly what's gonna happen.
Rather than letting immigrants come in there who want those jobs.
Yep.
Right? Because we don't want them.
Yeah. The fight on immigration. Why is there a fight? These people are working jobs that Americans will not work, no matter how bad our economy gets.
Yeah.
We're spoiled like that. That's what America is. It's the dream.
And I can understand if the people complaining were like, I want to pick fruit.
Yes.
If you want to pick fruit, you can't because there's too many immigrants. I'd probably be on your side of the fence having a
Exactly.
conversation
ain't
there.
nobody doing that.
Exactly. They don't want. They don't want to pick the
think-
fruit. So if you were saying that, I would understand your point of view.
Right. Me too. And the same thing with the books. You know,
ain't nobody-
because it has a sexual undertone. How many kids are having sex?
Here's the thing. They got mad. What did they do? Like stop. Like there was a LGBTQ, like a trans reading of books or whatever, and they were
Yeah.
like they didn't like that. Your teacher might be trans. Your teacher
Okay.
on the weekend, this dude might be somewhere dressed up like a woman.
Yeah,
you don't know.
Right.
Your
And
teacher could be gay. Your teacher could
they
be whatever.
rather-
You have no idea.
They rather push their agenda instead of pushing education.
Half the people who are trans, you won't even know it.
Yep.
They walking down the street, you think it's a female and it's a male. You think it's a male and it's a female.
That's
Sometimes some of it you can tell,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but some you can't.
Yeah.
I mean, you have no idea who's reading that book to you right now, just because you uncomfortable. You think this or
Yeah.
think that. Your kid don't care. Your kid is listening to the story, sitting there smiling about the three bears. And you worried about who the reader of the story is.
Yeah. Or
You
who
have people
wrote
in
the book.
you have people in your family that are trans or gay or whatever the case may be. Your children are aware of that. It's so
It's normal to them now.
yeah. So all this now, we just have a portion of people that are just really are really just fighting against what the world is now. You know what I'm saying? You can't take it back to the 50s.
You're right.
Can't make America great again. You know what I'm saying? Wasn't great for everybody. I'm sorry to say that.
It's
You know what
only
I'm saying?
great for the white folks.
You know what I'm saying? It wasn't great for everybody. So banning books and doing all this and, going against immigration, whatever you're trying to do, it's just to please a small portion. Well, it's a bigger portion, but a portion of people that want to hold on to power and want to be have a leg up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And to do that, well, let's take your history away. Let's not talk about it because that happened a long time ago. No, it did. My mama's still alive. She went through segregation. You know what I'm saying? Like, she went through segregation.
Yep,
That was
my
real.
mom, too.
I tell my kids that all the time. Like, no, you know that back of the bus and you only can drink out of certain fountains? That was real. And that happened in your grandmama's lifetime.
Yeah.
I'm the first generation didn't see that.
Yep.
And we went through busing and stuff. So, like, and even with us, there was still still strong racism around in the 70s.
Yep.
And it's got a little bit better. But come on, it's 2023.
My
Yeah.
parents couldn't get married
Yeah.
till 68
Wow.
Yeah.
because it was against the law for a black man and a white woman to be married. And my parents met in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
So when they got married on base, they had to wait. My brother was born in January. My parents weren't allowed to get married until July.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. See what I'm saying? So, yeah, and you even talk about things, it's 2023. The Civil Rights Act was passed in 1964.
Yeah.
Civil Rights Act.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It took 4 years.
Wasn't a long time ago. You know what I'm saying? So,
You know, one thing that just came up to my mind, man, from the point that you just made about like people in power trying to, just turn the clock back, right? Make things how it used to be, have control, right? The young lady who did the inaugurational poem had one individual get her poem and her book like banned. It took one person. Now, your point is valid about like, the big companies and those in power trying to hold us down. But what people who are not in power don't understand is that they are being used and manipulated to help these more powerful people attain their goals. And when you have one lady, I mean, I think it was I can't remember how old she was, but one lady go out there, complain to the school, and get this poem that was a beautiful poem, just, banned. For what? There was like, it's not saying anything about one race over another. It's not saying anything bad about like, America. And it got banned. Like there was not even any context to exactly why it was being banned. But one person could go out there, like, and that's the thing that scares me today, is that you could be erased from history by one angry person.
Yeah. That's
Well, unfortunately for her, she won't be able to erase the history because it was recorded. This is when social media and digital creation and stuff like that comes in, because it was at the inaugural thing. It's everywhere. So she might not be able to get to talk about it at school, but again, parents, you know what? You can't read this at school, but let's go watch the inauguration. We got the footage. You can hear it live from the word from the mouth of the person
Your
who
point
wrote
is,
it. Yeah.
I like your point, because we have devices that we can go to and pull up, right, that thing. But let's not take for granted the fact that what we have today will be here tomorrow. Because back in the day, Black Wall Street, it was in the papers. It was everywhere. These people got killed, and they were dropping bombs, and they burned the whole city down. How many people in this room knew about that when we was in high school? Nothing.
We didn't even really talked about stocks. And
Nothing.
bonds.
Those newspapers are still out there. We could go back on microfiche or whatever the hell we had back then and look it up.
And we hated it because it was tedious to do.
But it was there.
Right.
It was there. It was there. Just like this poem that she did on TV. It's there. It's everywhere. But don't take for granted that the more you try to erase it, because that's what happened with Black Wall Street.
Yeah.
They didn't want people to know that
they covered that up.
They tried to cover it up, and it was in the news everywhere.
They threatened people.
50 years later, nobody knows about it. Nobody's talking about it. It's like it's gone.
Yeah.
That is what they're trying to do today.
Yeah.
Right? Now, we today have access to things. And so did they back in the day. Just be careful. You never know how things will change, and how prevalent this need to erase our history is in their group. Because if they feel strongly about it, which it seems like they do, they're going to keep trying to find any way to do it.
No, they're gonna keep doing it, man. I mean, and once again, let's keep that propaganda engine going. I mean, it's just what it is. But you're right. Tulsa, Oklahoma, they had survivors that they threatened, like, nah, you better not say anything.
Yeah.
And we're finding that out now. Like you say, 50 years later, Biden had to go in and declare that, Biden. Think about all that happened in the 20s, man. And Biden's the first president went there and had to kind of declare that was something real that happened in America. So that's an example for people who don't, that's no big deal. Or no, it's a big deal. Because once they start erasing our history, they start erasing us.
That's right.
That's basically where it is. And that, believe it or not, are some people's motivations. And the erasing of us means erasing our power, and our power is our vote. You know what I'm saying? And our right to vote. They still vote for vote for black people to vote in this country. There's still a vote that goes through Congress, and they're working towards fighting against that. You know what I'm saying? And and on a local level, they're fighting to give us access to voting. So understand, in America, that's the power. That's what it is. It's the vote. And I'm hoping that somebody's looking at it who doesn't vote understands that that's where we're going with this.